All right, good morning, everyone. This is the weekly impact weather briefing for Central North Carolina for the second to last week of June. And the main impacts this week, as we'll see in just a minute, will be the heat. We'll start with the 10 a.m. observations. It's very hot out there already. Temperatures generally in the mid-80s to near 90 degrees. You can see it's 886 degrees there over the northwestern North Carolina Piedmont. Not really. That's a pair of 86s superimposed between North Wilkesboro and Greensboro. Hot nonetheless, but certainly not 886 as this graphic would indicate. There is a strong subtropical ridge over the southeastern United States, centered over the southern Appalachians, and that is resulting in this heat that we will experience for the next several days. And a cold front is draped well to the northwest of central North Carolina from the upper Great Lakes across central Iowa and then back down into southeastern and south central Nebraska. And that front will gradually make a run toward the middle Atlantic region as we get into the latter part of the week and hopefully take some of the heat out of the atmosphere by the time we get into Thursday and then particularly on Friday. This is the forecast weather pattern. You can see early this week that cold front draped from the northeast. This is a forecast for later today, draped from the northeast across the Ohio Valley into the upper Midwest. And with time, you can see that front does begin to make some inroads into the middle Atlantic states by the time we get into the late week forecast. That is Friday morning in the bottom left graphic. You can see the front becomes stationary over northern North Carolina. So it makes its closest approach to central North Carolina Thursday into the early part of Friday, and then likely retreats north as a warm front through the weekend. But the hope is that that front will bring a little bit of relief from the heat and also some better coverage of showers and storms. Until then, it looks like we're going to have relatively isolated to widely scattered showers and storms. So not a whole lot of hope for precipitation for at least the next couple of days. Those storms are likely to be sub-severe, although you can't rule out a severe storm capable of knocking down a tree or three this time of year. Any storm is capable of that, but we're not expecting any real organized severe weather for at least the next few days. We are in a marginal, or there is a marginal risk of severe storms across central and northern Virginia for tomorrow, in a little bit closer proximity to some stronger winds aloft that will create some wind shear, which will help organize the storms up in that neck of the woods. And then that regime settles a little bit farther south as we get into Wednesday. So you can see some of our counties there, Warren and Halifax County in the far northeastern part of our warning area are outlooked in a marginal risk for Wednesday. And both of those days, it looks like damaging winds would pose the primary threat. The freezing levels are very high this time of year and in this regime, so we're not expecting much in the way of hail, or at least not any severe hail. Very little risk of any tornadoes in the absence of wind shear. So it looks like just some downburst winds would be the primary hazards. Again, particularly as we get into Wednesday for our area, and then that will likely continue into Thursday. As we get a little closer in time, I wouldn't be surprised to see another marginal for perhaps a bigger part of central North Carolina for the day Thursday. This is the accumulated precipitation forecast through the week. You can see for the next couple of days, pretty sparse, focused over the coastal areas today. There's a little weak disturbance aloft migrating around the northeastern periphery of that subtropical ridge. That may focus some showers and storms over the eastern part of the state. So folks going out to the beaches today, maybe a little bit better coverage than average for storms this afternoon and this evening. But otherwise, not a whole lot around central North Carolina today and tomorrow. And then you can see a little bit more in the way of forecast precipitation drifting down from the middle Atlantic states down into at least the northern half of North Carolina by the time we get into Wednesday, and that's related to that approaching cold front, very slowly approaching cold front. And then Thursday and Friday should be the two relative maximum days in our forecast precipitation when that front makes its closest approach and gets down into our vicinity before then likely retreating northward and taking the better shower and storm chances with it during the weekend. So Thursday and Friday, again, appear to be the two best days for showers and storms this week. The tropics are relatively quiet. We've got a cluster of showers and storms over the far western Gulf of Mexico related to an upper level low on the southwestern periphery of that subtropical ridge that's bringing us our heat. And as a result, typically with upper level lows, they don't develop into tropical entities, particularly if they move onshore relatively quickly. And this one's forecast to move inland of the Texas coast later today or tonight. So the combination of the fact that it's they're being driven by an upper level low and it's going to be moving inland, there's very little opportunity for any development with that. So some heavy rain down in coastal Texas, but no real chance of any tropical development with that or anywhere else in the tropical Atlantic basin for the next 5 days. Looking ahead from the Climate Prediction Center, the outlook for next week, it looks like above normal temperatures are forecast to persist. In fact, a pretty high probability of above average temperatures for next week, with also an above average chance of precipitation. So the signal in the longer range guidance is one for hotter and perhaps wetter than average conditions next week. So in summary, the next several days, again, will pose the primary impacts for hazardous weather. With the heat, temperatures will be in the middle to upper 90s with related heat index values in the upper 90s to 110 degrees through Thursday. And the hottest conditions will most likely be on Wednesday when the heat index values are forecast to reach pretty much area-wide 105 to 110 degrees. So it's likely that a heat advisory will be issued for at least portions of central North Carolina for tomorrow and then particularly on Wednesday. And then again, that cold front approaching from the north should take the edge off of the heat on Thursday, at least over the northern counties, whereas the southern counties will likely stay in a similarly hot regime with temperatures still in the upper 90s and heat index values 105 to 110. For areas such as Wadesboro, Albemarle, Fayetteville, Rayford, those areas. So it does look like the heat will continue in those southern counties through Thursday, and then again cooling pretty much for all of central North Carolina by the time we get into Friday. And so it's not going to be as hot Friday through the weekend, but still above average. The average high this time of year is generally in the upper 80s, and our forecast right on through the weekend is at or more so above those readings all the way through this coming weekend. And again, the tropical Atlantic is relatively quiet, so we're not too worried about any tropical activity right now.